Semaphor's Ben Smith is chastising those who keep over-analyzing the Epstein case. So you may be looking at our rundown here. Smith said the Epstein obsession, as he calls it, has turned into QAnon for people who went to college. That's a direct quote. And here's his point, that while Epstein's crimes were horrific and real, the conspiratorial narrative around him, a secret blackmail network targeting global elites, he says it's a dead end. Stop with that already. And we'll go deeper into his analysis, because here's the part that jumps out the most, to me anyway. If you spend an hour, you learn that there's just no evidence to support the core suggestion that Epstein, who did horribly abuse underage girls, also ran a child sex and blackmail ring that ensnared powerful men on behalf, naturally, of Mossad. 20 years of investigations, a decade of aggressive journalism has turned up 0 videos, no client list. Now, Smith goes on to argue that this obsession, as he puts it again, it's distracting from actual political strategy, and it's not even landing with voters. And we'll have more on recent polling about that coming up. But your initial thoughts on what Ben Smith has to say about this obsession, Mossad, theorizing about it?
Yeah. I mean, the critical word in that whole thing was Mossad. So Ben Smith doesn't want to talk about Mossad. Mainstream media doesn't want to talk about Mossad. All the people we're about to show you don't want to talk about Mossad. So nothing to see here, nothing to see. Come on. Ben's an otherwise pretty good journalist, as much as you can be in mainstream media. So for him to say, I mean, there's no evidence. So if you look into it, you'll see that there's no evidence. Yeah, because the government didn't release it. That's what the whole controversy is about. You're gonna just glide past that? Nah, Ben's a smart guy. Like that didn't occur to you? Oh, we don't have the evidence because the government won't tell us? Okay, so is Ben saying that there's nothing to see here? That there was no other person who slept with the hundreds, and now some people are saying maybe 1,000 underage girls? Just Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. But otherwise, there's no evidence that a single other person. Well, why did they pay out like nearly $500 million in payments in lawsuits? The banks did because they were covering it up. Prince Andrew paid a ton of money, etc. So even Prince Andrew didn't do it. Nobody did it. It was just Epstein. Now, if you're a real journalist, you can't believe that. And so for him to pretend like that the central controversy is whether the government will release any of that evidence or not, just for him to say, I'll take the government's word. Well, they didn't release it, so there must be none. Well, if that's his standard for journalism, then I take back that he's a relatively good journalist, because that's a miserable level of journalism. And then he says, well, it's been thoroughly investigated by great journalists. Has it? There's a great piece that broke the story from a reporter that he quotes in Miami Herald, etc., and a couple of others that did a pretty good job. And I love that they did real journalism. Were the other publications all over Epstein? I mean, I remember covering it, because we're ancient, back in 2006 when he got arrested, right? And I don't remember other media organizations being like, who's on the list? What's going on? Why did he get a light sentence? Nothing. Maybe Ben Smith is seeing unbelievable record-breaking journalism from NBC and CBS and CNN and New York Times and Washington Post that I missed pre-2019. So I'm happy to see the dozens of articles where they just dug in and they wouldn't take no for an answer from the government. Here, Ben Smith is literally saying, yes, we should all take no for an answer from the government. Hey, can we have any evidence related to Epstein? No, good enough, perfect, no evidence, look away everybody. And so why Mossad? So that's one of the theories out there. We don't know because we don't have access to the evidence, right? But is it a legitimate theory that perhaps if there were people who participated in the rape of those underage girls, I mean, what do they think? Ghosts did it? The girls did it to themselves? I mean, come on. It's an absurd. They have the conspiracy theory that the girls raped themselves. Okay, if you want to be a lunatic about it, sure, and destroy any credibility you have in real journalism, not mainstream media journalism, where you're like, oh, I do declare, I've checked with the government, and the government says I should be their stenographer, and nothing to look here. Okay, yeah, you want to do that kind of crap journalism that mainstream media does? Go ahead, you can do that your entire career, right? And you'll get nothing but bravo, bravo, right? But if you're an actual journalist and you want to dive into the story and figure it out, you don't go, well, the government didn't give me any evidence, so I guess there isn't any. Okay, so in this massive, what appears to be a conspiracy to cover up the hundreds of girls who were raped. Okay, so nobody did it. No one's gonna get prosecuted. When you look at that, and the government under both Democratic and Republican administrations are so intent on covering it up, and you don't wonder why, and you don't wonder if there might be an intelligence agency. First of all, CIA, that would be the first guess, right? Are you saying, if you're a journalist, are you saying, there's no way the CIA would do that? They are way too moral. We shouldn't even ask. Let's move on already. Come on, come on. You're making it obvious. You're making it super obvious. And then when you throw in, definitely not Mossad, definitely not Mossad. Okay, I got it, Ben, I got it. It's crystal clear. And if it was just Ben Smith doing it, not only is he not the worst of them, he's generally a little bit better, right? So I'd be like, okay, whatever, it's not the end of the world. But now, as we're about to show you, Mark Levin, and last week we showed you Ben Shapiro, and a whole host of other people that are very, very pro-Israel. Nothing to see here, nothing to see at all. We should move on right away, right away. Guys, I'm not saying it, you're saying, what's the panic about? If you said, hey, I think the government of Norway might be involved, I'd be like, oh, that's curious, but I don't mind looking into it. What's the big deal? Right? The government of Bolivia might be involved. I didn't see that coming. By the way, some people say maybe MI6 or Saudi Arabia. That seems less likely, but I don't know. Prince Andrew was involved, so it's not impossible, right? What is wrong with asking? Why do we all have to move on instantly? When you throw in definitely not Mossad, and every Israel supporter is intent on saying that, then you guys are doing something super weird that is drawing the attention of everyone else going, why are they in a weirdo cold sweat panic over this? It's like when you accuse someone of racism, or not someone of racism, when you talk about like the old Confederate generals were obviously racist. Some of them lynched black people, like hundreds of black people, right? And some guy jumps up and goes, I'm not racist. Well, brother, I wasn't talking about you. I was talking about a Confederate general that died hundreds of years ago or 100 years ago, right? So you're kind of giving yourself away. So I'm really disappointed in Ben Smith in this total nonsense article where he's like jumping up and down going, move away, it's not Mossad. Okay, brother, you do you. All right, what else? Yeah. Who else is doing the same thing, Sharon?
Well, and let me just say, it felt like, and I'm not in his head, Ben Smith, but it felt like Mossad was that was the real point of this thing. He kind of just put some flowery stuff around it, if you want to call it that. And the other part of it is, look, when the Catholic pre-sex scandal happened, reporters dug and dug. There were government entities who slow walked it or covered up a little bit, didn't want to go there, but they got to the truth. This just seems different, particularly that he's relying on the same reporters who didn't tell us before the election that it was like weekend at Bernie's at the White House, okay? These are the same reporters that weren't able to uncover anything. But anyway, yesterday, Mark Levin told House Speaker Mike Johnson that he wants Republicans to stop talking about the Epstein files saga. Here's the clip.
We have a lot to run on and you have a lot to run against, given the other party. But I will tell you this, we better be united, we better be strong, we better be focused, we better be articulate. We can't waste our time on Epstein and other stuff that are going on here that some people want us to focus on. I'm about had it with all that stuff.
Mass pedophilia, okay, is, we don't have time for this, okay? There's other important matters. Meanwhile, over on CNN, Jake Tapper confronted Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar about the Epstein files. He wanted to know why she is so gung-ho about releasing the files now when the Democrats could have taken action during the Biden administration. Here's how that went down.
After the Miami Herald story broke in 2018, you said there was something not right in the Epstein case, but it's true that the president says there Democrats didn't really seem to do anything about the Epstein files throughout the 4 years of the Biden administration. I mean, should you have? You sit on the Senate Judiciary Committee. Senator Marsha Blackburn for years has been trying to get flight records and other information about Epstein released, and she seems to have been the only one on that committee trying to do so.
So the president blaming Democrats for this disaster, Jake, is like that CEO that got caught on camera blaming Coldplay, okay? Like, this is his making. He was president when Epstein got indicted for these charges and went to prison. He was president when Epstein committed suicide. And then there was another case, as you know, that continued during the Biden administration. But he was president back then.
Then there's Harry Enton, CNN. He argued last week that the ongoing Epstein files debate is not doing any political damage to Donald Trump. Let's show you that one.
All these complaints online going after Trump and the Epstein files, you might think his approval ratings were going down, Republicans. If anything, they're going up. Republicans who approve of Trump, look at our CNN poll. The prior one, 86%. The one out this week, 88% were Republicans. How about Quinnipiac? The prior poll, 87% approve of Republicans. This week out, 90% were Republicans. If anything, Donald Trump's approval rating has gone up since this whole Epstein saga started. He is at the apex or close there too in terms of his popularity with Republican voters, Epstein files, complaints or not.
You just proved that not everything online is real
Yes,
in real life.
Who knew?
Amazing.
Twitter and X are not reality.
Is there any reason that you can find that this hasn't taken hold and hurt him?
Yeah, I mean, on X, all you hear about is the Epstein files. But how about out in the real public? Republicans who said the top issue was Epstein case. The answer is one, and not 1%, one respondent.
So, Jank, you know, the quote unquote mainstream media has always moved as a pack. And I wonder what you think about whether they seem to be collectively trying to convince people to move on. We're moving on now. And what you make of that poll. So reactions. And Amy Klobuchar's analysis about how this is, you know, just like the Coldplay incident. It's nothing to see here.
Yeah.
We're going after it as we should.
So Jake Tapper with a good question. We'll come back to that one. So at least one guy doing a decent job out there. The CNN segment was embarrassing. Harry Enton does a lot of good segments with interesting polling, calling out both sides. I appreciate the honesty on that. This one was not one of them. So he takes out a poll that was out for, 1 or 2 days since the story broke and says it's definitive. Really, you're too good a pollster to say that. Now, you won't get the real numbers in terms of people's reactions until this week. So that was from last week. Yeah, story broke 3 hours ago. Nothing to see here. The polling is great. And then they literally now everybody remember, ignore everything online. Twitter isn't real, X isn't real, nothing, no social media is real, nothing. And then the second piece of, see, these things are obvious if you know politics and polling. So that's why the fact that they're doing this obfuscation makes me wonder. So then they say, well, they asked respondents, and no, only one respondent said that it was Epstein was the top issue. Yeah, a lot of people will say inflation is the top issue, immigration is the top issue. Those are things that monumentally affect your life, right? Maybe tariffs might be because they're causing inflation. So you don't need Epstein to be the #1 issue for people to care about it. So maybe it came in number 2 or number 3 for a lot of people, and that would be really telling. But we didn't get that information. We only got, it's not the #1 issue. It's not the #1 issue. So everything that everyone is saying is totally not true. Move away. See, that's what I'm saying, guys. If it was like 1 or 2 guys, like Ben Shapiro does it yesterday, I get it. Not yesterday, last week, right? And maybe one segment on cable, okay, fine. But almost all of mainstream media is moving in unison. And guys, there's no conspiracy. But my God, are they in a tiny little bubble? They're the kings of groupthink. They're like, everybody agrees, right? Time to move on, time to move on, time to move on, time to move on. They all say the same thing at the same time. These great journalists who are such independent thinkers. So that was an embarrassing segment. Jake Tapper, thank you, good question. Biden was in office for 4 years. How come you guys didn't release it? Klobuchar, come on, get out of here, Coldplay. Right? So wait, no, in that analogy, if that were true, Coldplay had the affair the week before, and then they're hypocritically pointing out the affair of the CEO. So that analogy doesn't even make any sense. She's not even trying to make sense. She's like, I got a good distraction. I said Coldplay, I'm so cool. No, you're not. Okay, no, you're not. So here's the reality for people who do actual journalism. Trump had 4 years to release the files the first time around. He didn't because he's never going to release them. He's super worried about them coming out, either because he's personally in them or his friends and donors are in them, or because it involves intelligence agencies. And then Biden gets in, he doesn't release them for 4 years. There's no excuse for it. You don't say, oh, well, yes, but I hate Republicans more, so Biden's 4 years of not releasing it doesn't count. No, it counts. Yes, were the Republicans more hypocritical about it? Absolutely, right? But did Biden release it? No, and that's my point. Both parties, and now Trump again, of course, won't release it. Both parties are like, oh, no way we're gonna release it. No way we're gonna tell you who raped hundreds of underage American girls. We're gonna let them all go. They haven't prosecuted a single one. So all those great journalists out there, and the one I'm most pissed at is Ben Smith, because he's supposed to be an actual reporter. Ben, how many people have been prosecuted for raping those girls outside of Maxwell and Epstein? How many? Oh, I did the math on it, 0. So don't tell me that there's no evidence and there's no big deal and we should move on. You're basically saying, oh, all those girls got raped. Who cares? Oh, they raped themselves or whatever lunatic conspiracy theory the government has come up with. But as long as the government comes up with it, I write it down right away. There's nothing to see here. There's no evidence at all. The girls raped themselves. No. I know you're not saying the girls raped themselves. Then tell me who the hell raped the girls. Who raped, like Epstein and Maxwell alone? Come on, it's embarrassing, especially if you're claiming to be a reporter. So it is clear that both parties completely covered up this list and these crimes, and both parties absolutely positively refuse to prosecute anyone outside of Epstein and Maxwell. And that is incredibly curious. If you don't think that's curious, you're not really a reporter.
I agree. How do you get the media, though, to go along with this? Is it the people who are whispering to them on both sides? Because there's still, regardless of what Enton said, there is considerable interest in this case. Whether it translates to cable news ratings, I don't know. But that's just an outstanding issue I have.
Yeah, no, look, honestly, for reporters, when the government says something, they're like, that is 200% true. We're all writing it down right away. Okay, but if an outsider has a point of view, they're like, that is definitely wrong. Let's go ahead and smear them. What did they do in 9th grade? Did they get, detention, 3 detentions in 9th grade? Oh, that's terrible. I've seen this movie 1,000 times, brothers and sisters. Don't tell me what the ending, I know the ending of the movie. The ending of the movie is everyone in media, in mass, mainstream media, goes, there is nothing to see here. The government is correct. The Democrats and the Republicans say there are no clients and the girls rape themselves. So that is obviously true. I'm such a good reporter. I have access to a lot of sources. And they all say the same thing. We're covering it up. I mean, nothing to see here.
You've answered my question, at least part of it. You definitely got 3 or more detentions. That I just know has to be true.
You kidding me, dog? I can't tell you the number of detentions I've had. You got to get to the suspensions before it gets interesting. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.